Grand Rising, witches, bitches, beauties, baddies. I just made that up. I am testing out this video feature of Substack. This is going to be my first video post. Super excited to come on here in this whatever state I'm in, usually with a coffee, and maybe in my bed, maybe with some bed hair, always with the bed hair, and just chat. Chat. This will be kind of a test to make sure the functions are all working. So I want to come on and share a bit about my journey as a women's coach. My crooked glasses. Where this all began, how it has evolved alongside my own personal journey, my own healing journey, my own evolution as a woman. Starting as a Beachbody coach. Everyone knows Beachbody, right? Those awesome workout videos that we also do with our moms in the living room. And what else was there? There were coaches, there was supplements, programs, but the videos and I guess it's the multi-level marketing scheme, which is how that really got going, became popular for coaches. One of my friends brought me onto her team, and I believe it was about a year. I think this started when I was probably 20 years old. No, it's my daughter. And I did that for a couple years. Really enjoyed the programs myself, and made sense for me in terms of learning, team building, and just my own personal development to be involved in that type of way. So soon after, I got involved in bodybuilding, women's fitness, women's bodybuilding. When I lived in New Mexico, I was a natural competitor in the figure class. And then when I moved back to Kansas, which is where I am from, I competed in some of the regulated organizations in bikini. Alongside all that, I was developing Fit Oasis Lifestyle, which is the wellness company that I still own, with my friend and who became a business partner. We started Fit Oasis Lifestyle together, and we were coaching bodybuilding athletes. And we had a different approach. It was a much more healthful approach for those of you who know about bodybuilding. I would rate it as probably the unhealthiest healthy sport that really exists. When we think of someone that's healthy, we think about them having a beautiful body, right? And that's only one aspect of health. So for me, that was a big realization of that, because during the time that I was exuding the most ripped, version of myself who looked to be, totally physically together on the outside, there were so many things that were going on the inside of me that I would say were unhealed, was hurting. I used my last show as a numbing agent, essentially, to get through my divorce at 25. And I used the gym as a drug. Like, totally avoidant of the inner work that I needed to do. There was so much focus on my external body, my physical body, the presentation of that I was using it to distract from what was going on inside, because I felt like, okay, if I'm able to, be perceived as having it all together, then that must mean something, right? But for me, it was actually detrimental to my health in many ways. always been somebody that just gets injured in the gym. And so I sustained multiple injuries, and it was like the mental health during that time. There was definitely a lot of body dysmorphia going on. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's when you look in the mirror and you see something entirely different than that, what is actually there. So there was that, and I'm sure there were low degree levels of eating disorder as well. So I'm not real sure about these glasses because you can't see my eyes, but however, it's blocking the blue. Blocking the blue. So yeah, that was the beginning. I had the pleasure of working with many athletes, many women, mothers who were just, trying to feel good again postpartum. Um, and with my background in culinary and sports nutrition, that was sort of my favorite aspect of the early stages of my wellness company was doing meal prep, creating meal plans, and helping with the nutrition side of things. Worked with a company called, it's now Circle, called DNA Fit, and we would actually ship these tests off to our lab in California. The client would do a swab test, and we build a blueprint program for them. So it was actually very cool. And around the time of my divorce, I started teaching yoga, and yoga became sort of the first like spiritual facet aspect of that fitness company. Offered private sessions, helped open 2 studios in the Kansas City area where I used to live. And that was sort of the beginning. And it's like, okay, we have the physical aspect. We know how to do that. We have the spiritual aspect. We're learning that. Throughout my marriage, spirituality was something that I greatly explored because I grew up in a very Catholic home, and I was very blessed to have a worldview, to have traveled, and to have friends that were from different places in the world. I lived in Garden City, Kansas, which is actually known as one of the more diverse places, most diverse and welcoming small towns in America, just the agricultural jobs that are there. So a lot of friends that were from different countries, were from Vietnam, were from Mexico. I grew up a minority. So culturally, I got some different perspectives. And I think that is what kind of led me to start asking questions around my spirituality too. Um, at the age of 17, I graduated high school early. I was ready to get the F out of there. Dodge, literally. Dodge was an hour away from where I actually grew up. So if you've heard that term, get the fuck out of Dodge or whatever, that's where it came from. The middle of Kansas. So spiritually, I explored Buddhism, Taoism. There was an early phase of resentment toward my family, the indoctrination, the Catholic shit, the Catholic guilt that I felt something wasn't fair. So the rebellion of that is just to become an atheist, right? So for a while, I did not believe in anything. I didn't even believe in myself. And then that started to change along with my own personal development. And then I coined myself agnostic. There's a belief in a higher power, but we don't want to name it. We don't want to associate it with much. We know that something else is out there, probably aliens, definitely for sure aliens, because now I talk to them. Um, and so that sort of evolved into more Eastern spirituality practices along with my yoga journey. And yeah, I would say that sort of started to weave into my coaching business. So I would say about 2020, COVID time, business partner and I split up. And that was sort of just like a breakup that was difficult. I was going through a lot. And during that time, I had been in the adult industry world, in the world of sex work. OnlyFans was just starting. I was making a lot more money there. And so I shifted away from my wellness business. Took a pause. And I mean, hindsight's 2020. I think had I not done that, and I would have, I wouldn't have learned a lot of the things that I learned the hard way. I wouldn't have come back around into the holistic world in the way that I had, because ultimately being in that line of work and the damage that I did to myself um, through substance abuse, addictions, um, just the damage to my body as well, my own nervous system health, my mental health. I wouldn't have come back around to holistic practices to trying to heal myself, which ultimately became something that are now things that are now my own healing modalities that I offer to my clients. So, um, after the loss of my best friend, which was essentially, like, okay, you're getting kicked out, you can no longer live this lifestyle. She was also in a lifestyle of um, crazy sex stuff, the swinger lifestyle, lots of drugs, like lots of alcohol that were also involved in the end of her life, and it was a huge wake up call for me. It was at least the wake up call that I needed to leave the narcissistic abuse, the relationship that I was in with my daughter's father at the time, and to kind of start my own journey back to my own health. And it was ugly. Like, it was so ugly. There were probably 2 years where I don't remember dreaming. I don't remember having REM sleep. I was drinking my calories still. And look back at myself and just how like thin and pale and like just could tell that I wasn't doing well. Processing the grief of that loss was something I have never felt in my entire life. The loss of a sister, someone close to me than my own biological sister, closer, and how that impacted me physically and mentally is something that I have not experienced since then. But, it led me to want to change because I realized that if I was to stay on the path that I was on, then ultimately I could wind up dead too. And it actually took one more close call for me to actually say, hey, okay, it's time for me to stop. And yeah, it took being in a physically abusive relationship and, really realizing, white flagging a custody battle with my ex, that I needed to call it quits and really pause and heal myself, which ultimately led to me healing others. So this is my part one. More soon.